I lied to my mother-in-law while she was dying of cancer and took something she trusted me with. She passed without ever knowing the truth, but I live with the guilt every day. 5 months ago, I betrayed the kindest woman I've ever known while she was dying, and now she's gone and I have to live with what I did forever. Margaret trusted me with her wedding ring collection. 60 years of marriage, 7 rings total, each one representing a milestone with my father-in-law who died 2 years earlier. She was on hospice, barely lucid most days, but on her good days she'd hold my hand and talk about how she wanted me to have them for being the daughter she never had. She made me promise to keep them safe for when my own daughter turned 18. But I was drowning. Credit cards maxed out, behind on the mortgage, and David had no idea how bad our finances really were. I'd been hiding statements for months, intercepting calls from collectors. The affair with my boss had started as just flirting over late-night work sessions, but it escalated when he promised to help with our money problems if I just spent more time with him. When Margaret handed me that velvet jewelry box during what I didn't know would be our last coherent conversation, something twisted in my chest. I held those rings and saw dollar signs. Vintage diamonds, platinum settings, probably worth 30 grand easy. Enough to buy me time, to keep David from finding out about the debt, to make everything okay again. I told myself it was temporary. I'd pawn them, get the money, pay everything off, then buy them back before anyone noticed. Margaret would never know. She was so weak, so confused on her medication. Sometimes she forgot my name. Sometimes she thought David was still 8 years old. The pawn shop owner barely looked up when I walked in 3 days later. He weighed them, squinted through his little magnifying glass, and offered me $12,000. I wanted to negotiate, but the way he looked at me, like he knew exactly what kind of person brings in dying woman's jewelry, made my skin crawl. I took the money anyway. I used $8,000 to pay down the credit cards and gave the rest to my boss like some kind of payment for services rendered. It felt dirty even then, standing in that hotel room counting out 20s while he smiled like he owned me. Because he did. Margaret passed 4 weeks later. David held her hand while she took her last breath, and I stood there knowing I'd stolen from her while she trusted me completely. At the funeral, she was buried with her original engagement ring, the one David had insisted she wear to be with Dad again. I watched them lower her into the ground and wanted to throw myself in after her. 2 weeks after the funeral, David asked about the ring collection. He wanted to put them in our safe deposit box like Mom would have wanted. I panicked and told him Margaret had been confused, that she'd never actually given them to me, that maybe she'd hidden them somewhere or given them to someone else. I watched my husband's face crumble as he tore apart his childhood home looking for his mother's rings. David hasn't spoken to me the same way since. He doesn't know what I did, but he knows something's wrong. He keeps asking why I'm so distant, why I flinch when he mentions his mother. Last night he found me crying in the kitchen and asked point blank, "Did you do something? You've been acting guilty ever since she died." I couldn't tell him. I can never tell him. It's been 6 months since Margaret died and my life is unraveling in ways I never imagined. The money's gone. All of it. The credit card debt came back with interest, the affair ended when my boss got bored, and I got fired when his wife found out and made a scene at the office. David still doesn't know about the rings, but he's starting to piece together that something's terribly wrong. He found the bank statements I'd been hiding. Sat me down at the kitchen table with everything spread out like evidence at a crime scene and asked me to explain where $12,000 came from and when in the span of a month. I told him I'd borrowed it from my sister. He called her to thank her. She had no idea what he was talking about. The worst part isn't even David's disappointment or the way he looks at me now like I'm a stranger. It's my daughter asking why Daddy seems so sad all the time, why Grandma Margaret's rings aren't in the special box she'd been told about. 8 years old and she already knows something's broken in our family. I tried to get the rings back. The pawn shop owner laughed in my face when I came in with the ticket, offering double what he'd paid me. He'd sold them within a week to some collector in California. Gone forever, just like Margaret's trust in me, just like David's faith in our marriage. David hired a private investigator. Not for the affair, he doesn't know about that yet, but to trace where our money went. He thinks someone's been stealing from us, using our accounts fraudulently. He's being so gentle with me, thinking I'm a victim too, and it's destroying me more than if he just screamed. I keep Margaret's obituary folded in my wallet. Beloved wife, mother, and grandmother, known for her generous heart and unwavering trust in others. I read it when the guilt gets so heavy I can't breathe. She died believing I was good, believing her precious rings were safe with someone who loved her. My sister won't return my calls since David contacted her about the money. My friends from work don't know I got fired yet, but they will. The affair partner blocked my number and acts like I don't exist when we run into each other around town. I'm completely alone with this secret. Last week, David's cousin mentioned finding an old photo of Margaret wearing all her rings at their anniversary party. She posted it on Facebook with a caption about how beautiful they were and wondering what happened to them. 17 people commented asking the same question. David liked the post. I threw up in the bathroom at work reading those comments. I've started having panic attacks thinking about David finding out. Not just about the rings, but about everything. The affair, the lies, the way I took advantage of his grief to cover my tracks. When he learns the truth, he'll realize his mother died thinking she was giving her treasures to someone worthy of them. There's no fixing this. No buying them back, no explaining it away, no version of this story where I'm not the villain. I betrayed a dying woman's trust for money I wasted on an affair that meant nothing. I let my husband blame himself for losing his mother's final gift when I'm the one who threw it away. I wake up every morning knowing Margaret's last coherent memory of me was her putting those rings in my hands and telling me she loved me like a daughter. She died believing in my goodness while I was already planning to destroy everything she built with 60 years of love. Some mistakes you can apologize for. Some people you can make amends to. But you can't say sorry to the dead, and you can't undo becoming the kind of person who steals from someone who trusted you with their dying breath.